While building my son's crib, I heard my wife tell her parents, "I never loved her. She's just a paycheck." Her mom said, "We'll take custody when she breaks." My stepdaughter whispered, "Can I spit in her food?" I kept working. This morning, she begged me to talk, but I'd left. Her words woke me. My revenge is her emptiness. I'm stronger. Look, I never thought I'd be writing one of these posts, but here we are. Sometimes life throws you a curveball that knocks you flat on your back, and you gotta figure out how to get back up swinging. This is my story about the day I learned the truth about my marriage while putting together furniture for the baby I thought would complete our family. 3 months ago, I was living what I thought was the American dream. Nice house in the suburbs, stable job at a tech company pulling in solid 6 figures, and a wife who I believed loved me as much as I loved her. We'd been married for 2 years, and she had a daughter from her previous relationship who I'd been raising as my own. Life felt good, real good. The pregnancy news came as a surprise, but a welcome one. We hadn't been trying, but we weren't preventing it either. When she showed me that positive test, I swear I felt like I could bench press a Honda Civic. Finally, a kid that would be biologically mine and hers together. I started making plans immediately, converting the spare room into a nursery, researching the best schools in our district, even started looking at minivans because my Mustang wasn't exactly family-friendly. I took charge of setting up the nursery, because that's just who I am. When I commit to something, I go all in. Spent weeks researching cribs, reading safety reviews, watching YouTube videos about proper assembly. Ended up dropping $800 on this convertible crib from Pottery, barn kids that would grow with our son. Top-of-the-line safety ratings, solid wood construction, the works. The day everything changed started out perfect. It was a Saturday morning in late September, one of those crisp fall days that makes you grateful to be alive. I had the whole weekend mapped out, finish building the crib, hang the mobile, organize all the baby clothes we'd been accumulating. My wife was supposed to help, but her parents were visiting from out of state, so I told her to spend time with them while I handled the nursery. I was about 2 hours into assembly when I heard voices drifting up from the kitchen below. The nursery was directly above the breakfast nook, and our old house had thin floors. Usually I'd throw on some music or podcasts while working, but I'd forgotten my AirPods downstairs and didn't want to interrupt their family time. At first I wasn't really listening, just background chatter while I focused on aligning the crib rails perfectly. But then I heard my name, and something in the tone made me pause, mid-screw turn. Update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support so far. I know this is heavy stuff, but I need to get it all out. The next part is where things get really intense, and I'm still processing it all honestly. Quick question for you all. Have you ever had a moment where you realized everything you believed about your life was a lie? How do you even begin to move forward from that? My wife's voice carried clearly through the floorboards. Honestly, Mom, I never loved her. She's just a reliable paycheck and good with kids. The screwdriver slipped from my hand and clattered onto the hardwood floor. I froze, thinking maybe I'd misheard, but she kept talking. The whole thing has been about financial security. She makes great money, pays all the bills, and treats Emma like her own daughter. But love? No, I've been faking it this whole time. Her mother's response made my blood run cold. Well, honey, you've got her locked in now with the baby coming. When she finally breaks under the pressure of supporting everyone, we'll be ready to take custody and you can get that child support money. I sank down onto the floor, my legs suddenly unable to support my weight. 2 years of marriage, and I'd been nothing more than a meal ticket. Every kiss, every intimate moment, every time she said she loved me, all of it had been a performance, but it got worse. My stepdaughter Emma, who I'd been taking to soccer practice and helping with homework for 2 years, chimed in with excitement in her voice. Mom, can I start spitting in her food now? Or putting dirt in her coffee? She's so stupid she'll never notice. They all laughed. Actually laughed about poisoning me. I sat there on the nursery floor for what felt like hours, surrounded by crib parts and instruction manuals, listening. To them, plot my downfall. They discussed which lawyers to contact, how to document my supposed mental instability, even which of my assets they thought they could claim in a divorce. My wife mentioned that she'd been keeping a journal of fake incidents to build a case against me. The conversation eventually moved to other topics, but I couldn't focus on anything else. I mechanically continued working on the crib, muscle memory guiding my hands while my mind raced. Each piece I assembled felt like I was building a monument to my own stupidity. When they finally left to go shopping, I was putting the finishing touches on the mattress installation. The crib looked perfect, exactly what I'd envisioned for my son. But now it felt like a prop in someone else's play, a symbol of dreams that were never really mine. That night, I lay in bed next to my wife, watching her sleep peacefully while my world crumbled around me. She had no idea I'd overheard everything. To her, I was still the same devoted spouse she'd been manipulating for 2 years. She even rolled over and cuddled against me, whispering, "Love you," in her sleep. The irony was suffocating. I spent the next few weeks in a strange kind of purgatory, going through the motions of normal life while secretly planning my exit strategy. I couldn't confront her immediately. I needed to be smart about this. If she was already building a case against me, I needed to build one against her. I started documenting everything. Installed a small recording device in the kitchen after researching the legality in our state. Set up a separate bank account she didn't know about. Made copies of all our important documents. Most importantly, I reached out to a lawyer who specialized in cases involving parental fraud and manipulation. The hardest part was acting normal around Emma. This kid I'd loved and raised was actively participating in plans to destroy me. Soccer games became torture sessions where I had to cheer for someone who wanted to poison my food. Homework help turned into bitter reminders that my care meant nothing to her. Update: the legal stuff is getting complicated, and I'm learning things about family court that honestly terrify me. For those asking about recording laws, I checked, and in my state, one-party consent is legal in your own home. But here's what's really eating at me. Should I tell my unborn son the truth about his mother someday? That's keeping me up at night more than anything else. My wife started noticing my distance after about a month. She'd try to initiate conversations about baby names or nursery decorations, and I'd give short, non-committal responses. The woman who'd been faking love for 2 years was now concerned about my emotional availability. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so devastating. She ramped up her affection, probably thinking she needed to secure her investment. More frequent physical intimacy, surprise lunches delivered to my office, even a weekend getaway proposal. Every gesture felt like salt in an open wound because I knew the motivation behind it. The breaking point came on a Tuesday morning in November. I was getting ready for work when she cornered me in the bathroom, tears streaming down her face. "Baby, you've been so distant lately. Are you having second thoughts about us?" "About the baby?" The performance was Oscar-worthy. Real tears, trembling voice, the whole production. 6 weeks earlier, I would have dropped everything to comfort her. Now I just looked at her reflection in the mirror while brushing my teeth. "Everything's fine," I said around a mouthful of toothpaste. "Just work stress." But she wouldn't let it go. She followed me to the bedroom, wrapping her arms around me from behind while I put on my tie. "Please talk to me. I love you so much, and I'm scared I'm losing you." That word, love, hit me like a physical blow. I turned around and looked directly into her eyes, searching for any hint of genuine emotion. All I saw was calculated concern, the look of someone worried about losing a valuable asset. "Do you?" I asked quietly. "Do you really love me?" "Of course I do. How can you even ask that?" The lie came so easily to her. No hesitation, no guilt, just smooth deception delivered with perfect conviction. In that moment, I realized I was looking at a stranger. The woman I'd married, the person I'd planned to grow old with, had never existed. That evening, I made my decision. I couldn't keep living this charade, and I definitely couldn't bring a child into this toxic situation. I waited until she was asleep, then quietly packed a bag with essentials. I left a note on the kitchen counter. Not an explanation, just a simple statement that I needed space and would be in touch through my lawyer. I drove to a hotel about 20 miles away and checked in for what I thought would be a few days. Those few days turned into a few weeks, then a month. My lawyer advised me to establish a pattern of separation before filing for divorce, especially given the pregnancy situation. The calls started immediately, first pleading, then angry, then desperate. She left voicemails crying about the baby needing his father, about how she couldn't understand what had gone wrong. Her parents even reached out, expressing concern about my mental state and offering to help with counseling. The same people who'd planned to take custody of my child were now pretending to care about my well-being. Emma sent me a text that read, "Why did you leave us? I thought you loved me." The manipulation was learned behavior, passed down through generations. This 12-year-old was already a master of emotional blackmail. I responded to none of it. Every communication went straight to my lawyer, who was building a comprehensive case. The recordings from the kitchen were just the beginning. We'd uncovered a pattern of financial manipulation, evidence of the fake journal entries, even communications between my wife and her parents about their long-term plan to drain my resources. Update: court date is set for next month, and I'm honestly nervous, but also weirdly excited. The evidence we've gathered is pretty solid, but family court can be unpredictable. Some people are asking about the baby. Yes, I still care about my son, but I won't be manipulated into staying in a toxic situation just because of biology. Here's my question for all of you. When someone shows you who they really are, do you believe them the first time, or give them chances to prove they've changed? 3 months after I left, my wife showed up at my office. Security called me down to the lobby where she was waiting, very pregnant and looking genuinely distraught. This wasn't the calculated performance I'd become accustomed to. She looked desperate, broken even. "Please," she said before I could speak, "just give me 5 minutes. Let me explain." I almost walked away. My lawyer had advised me to avoid all direct contact, but something in her demeanor made me pause. Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe I needed closure. I agreed to talk, but only in the lobby with security present. She broke down completely, told me she knew I'd overheard the conversation with her parents, that she'd figured it out when I suddenly became distant. She claimed everything she'd said was just venting frustration, that she'd been overwhelmed by pregnancy hormones and financial stress. "I do love you," she insisted. "I was just scared and said terrible things I didn't mean." But then she made a mistake. In trying to minimize her words, she revealed details about conversations I'd recorded that she couldn't have known I'd heard unless she remembered them clearly. Her story started falling apart in real time. "The journal," I said quietly. "Tell me about the journal." Her face went white. She'd forgotten about that part of her plan, probably assuming I'd only heard the conversation with her parents. The fake documentation of my supposed instability, the invented incidents of erratic behavior, she couldn't explain those away as hormonal venting. "I never meant to use it," she whispered. "It was just insurance. Insurance. That's what our entire marriage had been to her, an insurance policy against financial insecurity." I left her there in the lobby and went back to work. She called dozens more times over the following weeks, but I was done. The woman I'd loved had never existed, and I couldn't mourn a fantasy forever. The divorce proceedings were surprisingly swift once we presented our evidence. Her lawyer advised her to settle rather than go to trial, where the recordings would become public record. I got a clean separation with minimal financial obligations, though I did agree to child support for my biological son. The custody arrangement was the hardest part to negotiate. I wanted to be in my son's life, but I couldn't trust his mother not to use him as leverage for manipulation. We settled on supervised visitation until he's old enough to make his own decisions about our relationship. Emma sent me one final text message. I hope you're happy now that you've ruined our family. I wasn't happy, but I was free. There's a difference between happiness and relief, and what I felt was definitely relief. Like I'd been holding my breath for 2 years and could finally exhale. 6 months later, I'm living in a smaller apartment across town, but it's mine. No more walking on eggshells, no more wondering if the person sleeping next to me is planning my downfall. My son was born healthy, and I see him twice a week at a family visitation center. He's beautiful, and I love him completely, but I love him honestly now, not as part of someone else's manipulation. My ex-wife's financial situation deteriorated quickly after I left. Turns out she'd been living beyond her means, even with my salary covering most expenses. Her parents' grand plan to take custody fell apart when they realized they'd have to actually support the children themselves. The house went into foreclosure, and last I heard, they'd moved back in with her parents in a different state. Emma's attitude toward me changed dramatically once the financial reality set in. The hostile texts stopped, replaced by occasional messages asking if I missed her or if I'd consider coming back. The kid who'd wanted to poison my food now realized what she'd lost. I don't feel vindictive about their struggles. If anything, I feel sorry for them. They spent so much energy plotting against someone who genuinely cared about them, and in the process, they lost the very security they were trying to protect. These days, I'm focused on rebuilding, started seeing a therapist to work through the trust issues and emotional damage. I'm dating again, carefully and honestly this time. The woman I'm seeing now knows the whole story, and she's helped me understand that what happened wasn't a reflection of my worth as a person. I visit my son regularly, and even though our time is limited, it's authentic. He'll grow up knowing his father chose to be in his life, not because he was trapped or manipulated, but because he wanted to be there. That's a gift I can give him that his mother never understood, the gift of genuine love. The crib I built still haunts my dreams sometimes, all that care and attention put into creating something beautiful for a family that was built on lies. But I've learned that the effort wasn't wasted. It taught me about my own capacity for love and dedication. Those qualities weren't the problem. I just gave them to the wrong people. Sometimes people ask if I regret the marriage, if I wish I'd seen the signs earlier. The truth is, I'm grateful it happened. Not for the pain, but for the lesson. I learned that I'm stronger than I thought, that I can survive betrayal and come out better on the other side. I learned to trust my instincts and to value authenticity over comfort. My revenge, if you can call it that, isn't anything I did to them. It's the life I'm building without them. Every day, I choose honesty over manipulation. Every relationship I build on genuine connection instead of financial convenience. That's how I win. Their emptiness is their own punishment. My fullness is my reward. The boy I'm raising in weekend visits will grow up seeing what real love looks like, not the performance his mother specialized in. He'll learn that relationships should lift you up, not tear you down for someone else's benefit. And maybe, if I'm lucky, he'll never have to learn these lessons the hard way like his old man did. That's my story, not the fairy tale I thought I was living, but a real story about real people making real choices. Some of those choices hurt like hell, but they led me to a life that's actually mine. And that, no cap, is worth everything I went through to get here.